How's it going? My name is Tomas. I'm a co-founder with one other person of DreamLabs. We are a low-code agency based in California. Got started about just a little under 2 years ago. Currently running at about 12 to 15 people on the team, almost all of which been hired in the past few months. So definitely good growth. And we are specialized in the Flutterflow, Firebase, and Retool stack.
What were the beginnings of your agency and why did you choose NoCode?
Yep. So our agency started actually from the ashes of a previous company. So my co-founder and I of DreamLabs had been working on a previous startup for about 2.5 years. Here in the Bay Area. And one challenge that we came up against in building our startup was on the tech stack. Neither my co-founder nor I are technical by background. So our experience was similar to a lot of non-technical founders where we think, okay, we need to build a software platform. Let's go ahead and hire third-party developers. And we did that, talked with a few folks. One team told us they could get our MVP in 1 month, which is exactly what we were looking for. We started going out and talking to potential partners, potential customers, promising them that 1 month time frame. And then 1 month passed, we still didn't have it. 2 months passed, 3 months passed, still nowhere close. And that was really our moment of kind of come to Jesus, back up against the wall moment. We're like, this is not working. However, we've been hearing about this no code thing, so we have no other choice. Let's fire the developers and figure this out ourselves because we can't wait any longer. And then within 2 weeks, we built from the ground up everything we had been waiting for over 3 months on, with a pretty standard Webflow, Airtable, Zapier no-code stack. That was really our aha moment of realizing how much and how fast and how powerfully you can build with these stacks, and also how fun it is. So after we built and launched that product, kind of took a step back and said, well, running a company like a startup is pretty challenging. You have to focus on ops and sales and marketing, customer success, investor relations, like everything. But what we really enjoyed was building cool shit, honestly. And we had a lot of fun with the stack. So we decided to close down the startup and transition to an agency, primarily so that we could continue having more fun doing the one thing that we really like to do and the one thing we felt we were really good at and could provide a lot of value in giving to other founders the service that we wish we had when we were running our own company.
And what were you doing before launching the agency? I mean, the startup and your role in the startup.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So before running the agency, the startup that we were building for about a couple, like 2.5 years, I was essentially running sales and product. And then my co-founder was running operations and marketing. Before that, spent a couple years working at a fintech in San Francisco as a product manager in product, and then also at a couple startups in sales. And then before that, did a couple of years in San Francisco as well as a strategy consultant. Getting paid to go to business school.
Okay, so you mentioned that no code saved you, and how about some challenges you encountered with no code? I mean, related to market, industry, competition, or just challenges?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that so I'd say the two biggest challenges around no code that we've had in our agency so far are one around focus, and then two around growth. So those are kind of two different moments, inflection points in our journey. So initially, when we first started, we were really excited about the whole ecosystem and the whole landscape. So every project we were building in a different stack. We built one client project, a mobile app in Adalo, and then we built another one in Webflow for web app, and then we tried another client app in Bubble. Um, and that was a fantastic learning experience, and also it kept us just really pulling our wheels on the growth curve required to learn each new tool, and that was pretty exhausting. So after about 9 to 10 months of really getting our feet wet in a number of different tools, we decided to focus specifically on Flutterflow as our core product of choice and our core technology that we're going to really focus the agency around. And that has been, yeah, a really fantastic decision for us because of the growth of Flutterflow as a platform. We're able to essentially just ride that wave, which is incredible. The team is amazing. They ship unbelievable amounts of product and so effectively. There's been many, many conversations we've had with clients where we will come to a client meeting and just be kind of glowing, like, "Oh my gosh, did you see the recent Flutterflow product announcement? Because this new feature that just came out is exactly what we need today. Perfect." That's been definitely a joy. So yeah, so with that focus, we've definitely been able to narrow down our processes and really, uh, decide, be focusing less on how do we learn a bunch of new technologies, but instead more, we've been able to focus more around, now that we are experts in this one technology, how can we really tighten up our customer experience, our client experience process from beginning to end. So that from the moment a client walks into our door and we have an initial conversation to the moment that they have their first version built in their hands, they're going out to bring it to market in the world, we control that entire experience and that it's exceptional. That's really where we've been focusing on the past year or so.
You've mentioned that you are growing really, really, really fast. Can you describe significant milestones you've reached so far as an agency?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I would say that so in terms of the first real milestone was focusing on the technology, which was during our first year, and then the second milestone was really getting our process to a really good point, and that was last summer, so about 6 months ago. Um, which then led to us being in a place where our technology stack was in a good place, our operational process was in a good place. The remaining area of focus then was on our go to market, everything go to market, sale from top of funnel marketing to our sales process itself. How do we actually close and get started with a client? That was really the open question that we've been focusing on for the past, I would say, yeah, 6 months. And that actually, that question and that desire to focus on the business side led us to start as a side project to DreamLabs, our agency. We started a private community called NoCode Pros, which is a platform of other no-code agency owners, freelancers, and solopreneurs, which is where we met. Um, and the intention there was to create a closed room conversation of some of the smartest and sharpest people in our space to be able to share questions and insights around all of the challenges that we're facing and trying to figure out in our own way at the same time as no code service business owners. And when we started No Code Pros last summer, uh, the total number of clients that we had with DreamLabs as our agency was two. And we wanted to be able to just double that. And then by connecting with other founders, applying the insights that we were learning, within a couple months, we were then able to double that to 4 active clients. And then by the end of 2023, we were able to double that uh, yet again to 8 active clients, which is where we're at right now, and is more than enough for maintaining a full team and having a very very full workload. Primarily because our positioning as an agency is less of a outsourced dev shop for one-off builds and more of a fractional product team for long-term relationships and deep client engagements. So a roster of 8 high-value long-term clients is plenty, for us to work with, definitely through this year, and and our hope is into the future as well. Here is a product that we built for a client in the health and fitness space, primarily the weight loss space. Essentially, what we wanted to do is create a singular experience where users can get everything they need, from weight tracking to nutrition management to exercising, plus a social component, all in one place. And the reason why we wanted to focus on this build with a low code technology stack in particular was obviously for speed to market, but more importantly, the speed of iteration. So as a product team, our focus is always get the core kernel, the core product vision out into market as quickly as possible, so that we can then start to generate valid and valuable user feedback to then improve and iterate on our core product vision as quickly as possible. That nimbleness is really what we're going for. So with this build, that was really our focus. Actually been working on it a bit longer than we usually do to get the first release out, primarily because as we were finishing our initial build, the OpenAI craze was blowing up. So what we have really been focusing on with this project is meaningful ways of integrating AI, and that's primarily been the number one challenge. With OpenAI's API, obviously chat style interfaces, super easy to develop. If we're looking at the health and wellness space, it's very simple and a no-brainer to be able to create some sort of chat style health guide or coach. Very basic, very straightforward. Because of that, a lot of products have been able to launch very quickly in that space. However, what we've been really focusing on is more the challenge of how do you use the API to power not just a standard chat interface, but rather to power the actual core user experience of weight tracking, nutrition tracking, fitness tracking, that requires data to be input within the existing database architecture in a specific way, as opposed to just a chat, bit of text back and forth. So what you'll see in this walkthrough, is how we have enabled the ability for a user to create, for example, a custom meal recommendation based off the specific foods a user is wanting to eat, and also based off of the specific macronutrient target goals that a user should be maintaining to stay within their weight loss goals. Choose what food they want, press a button, boom, get a beautiful and tailored meal plan delivered right to them. Similarly, we've also created a feature that allows users to get tailored workout plans based off of what muscle groups a user wants to be able to focus on, as well as what equipment they happen to have access to. And not only just get that back, but then be able to use that data within the app to be able to track their calories eaten, as well as track their workouts completed. And the impact of that has really been a very, very, very happy client. He's been thrilled to see the results of what we've been able to accomplish so quickly, because within this space, there's just a massive opportunity, and this client is very well positioned as an existing long-term physical product business to be able to capitalize on the opportunity and really leverage what we've built to this existing customer base. So haven't launched yet. We're in the last tail end of our user testing to finish out the initial beta release. But it's a quick demo here, and it's been a lot of fun to work on.
Speaking about impact, from your perspective, how has NoCode changed the way we create software compared to the traditional software development?
Yeah, that's definitely a great question. And from my perspective, what I am seeing is that similar to the way that AI is commoditizing ideas and thought itself, no code is also commoditizing the craft of software or the delivery of software. So when a output does not require access to high value gatekeepers, then it does become, by definition, more of a commodity. And essentially, what that means is, from the perspective of someone wanting to launch something or build a company, you can look at your inputs being ideas, commodity, software, commodity. What then is the primary differentiator between who can succeed and who struggles? Go to market. It's your ability to execute. It's not about your ability to build products, but your ability to get something get the concept that you've been able to build actually in front of people in a meaningful and sustainable way. So now more than ever, the shift towards founders who have the ability to execute on go-to-market, their ability to succeed is, they're more primed for success today than ever before. And the ability and the importance then of being able to, one, connect with your users, to reach them in the first place, but two, to deeply listen to your users, that's really the differentiator between those who are lagging and those who are really thriving in today's environment, which is pretty fun.
Could you give us an example where no-code offered a distinct advantage over the traditional software development?
Yeah, exactly. So I would say the biggest advantage is around agility. The ability to iterate and move very, very quickly is the core advantage. So for example, we were about a year and a half ago starting an initial conversation with a client who was considering working with us, a low-code agency, or working with a third-party development shop, traditional code, for building their MVP, a end-user mobile app, and a companion admin desktop web app. The traditional team made a pitch of a 6 to 9 month development cycle with tens of thousands of dollars as the minimum commitment, which was pretty much the entire development budget for a year for this early team. Our approach was the exact opposite. We're saying, well, we can get your version 1 out into market within 6 weeks tops, end to end. And once it's out in the market, we can collaborate with you to run user testing and user feedback sessions to make sure that we actually get user feedback as quickly as possible, and then iterate and iterate and iterate on what we're receiving from our real users with a real product. Where that client's build ended up 6 months after we launched is nowhere near where we had started initially. But we were only able to get there because we could, one, ship as quickly as we could, and then two, iterate as quickly as we were able to with the superpower of low code. Whereas if they had stayed with a traditional agency, they would have been stuck with their day one assumptions and their day one vision all the way almost a year later, even as the need for a more nimble relationship with the product from user feedback would have been coming up.
And what are the common misconceptions about no-code that you encounter, and how do you address them? I mean, with your clients when you start working with them?
Yeah. Oh man, that's definitely a good one. One of the primary misconceptions comes really from our ecosystem's branding. No code is a terrible, terrible term. It's so confusing. By defining something by what it is not, the question remains then, well, what is it? And for folks that have not actually played with no code tools or really understand what they are, that question of, okay, if it's not code, then what is it? Is the most kind of prevalent question that drives all the misconceptions. So we often have conversations with clients or even prospective clients that come to us and ask, like, okay, well, if we build it in this low code tool, what happens if we want to uh, push it live on the App Store? Like, does it live here or does it live there? Or are we limited to the platform, or do we have to, tie into all of those types of questions? And essentially, and this is one of the reasons why we like Flutterflow so much. One of the things that we need to articulate as part of our education process over and over is that any platform or even any traditional software language itself have strengths and limitations. And being aware of what those trade-offs are in relation to the goal of a particular person or a particular team and what they're trying to accomplish is the most important kind of strategic decision-making point. What we found in the no-code and low-code space is that generally, each platform will have a trade-off between speed of development on one hand and then ability to handle complexity on the other. So essentially, what is the upper ceiling of complexity that any given platform can handle? Most platforms tend to exist on a spectrum or a continuum, where on the very far end of one side, you have a tool like Glide, for example, which is very, very high on the ease of use metric. Anyone can really pick it up and learn it over a weekend, kind of building something for themselves. But on the other hand, conversely, it ranks relatively low on the ability to handle complexity, or at least ability to handle complexity easily. So you're pretty much locked into the constraints of the platform itself, which for certain use cases, if you're trying to build, just a solo use prototype, not a problem. However, if you're trying to build something that's more scale ready and feature ready, then going further on the other side of that continuum, where you have something that has, for example, like Flutterflow, a much higher learning curve. It takes, on average, from our perspective, 2 to 4 months of really digging into the tool for someone non-technical to really get comfortable and unlock the power of the platform. But conversely, your kind of reward for that trade-off is a very, very high ceiling in terms of what level of complexity you can handle. So the biggest kind of misconception that we generally work with and need to articulate is that not all no-code tools are built the same. And just as each development language has its pros and cons, so too does each no-code or low-code tool have different trade-offs to consider.
So what are your predictions for the future of no-code development? Are there any trends, upcoming technologies that you find particularly exciting?
Mhm. Yep, as I'm sure everyone says, the biggest upcoming trend, no code plus AI equals magic. It's the best. It's so powerful. For example, within the Flutterflow ecosystem, you can build with pre-built components to create 90% of most builds relatively easily. And also, if there's anything outside of that existing library of components that you need to build, you can custom code individual widgets. When Flutterflow launched a few years ago, that required someone to actually know how to write in Flutter to code a given widget, then embed it in wherever it's supposed to be within the app, make it make it a lot more powerful. Fantastic. Um, However, in the past year in particular, the native Flutterflow platforms, Flutter Generator AI tool means that you can build 90% of your vision with all pre-built components. And then for that remaining 10, arguably even 5 to 3% that does require custom components, you don't even need to know how to write custom Flutter code. You just describe what you need, press enter, copy and paste the code that spits out, see if it works. Most likely it will, which is insane. It's remarkable the ability, just the amount of creativity and power that unlocks for someone to be able to, like we're saying, leverage these tools to output software as a commodity to really supercharge their core capability in connecting with users and actually bringing value to real people.
What advice would you give to aspiring developers that are interested in the no-code space? Give one piece of advice why they should start with no-code and one reason why they should not.
Yeah, so the way that I would frame how to approach no code is around essentially the reason why you're engaging with the technology. And uh, one simple duality that we can look at is: are you trying to use no code to build product? So essentially, are you building a company where trying to build a software product and no code is going to enable you to do that? Or are you leveraging no code like we do in our agency as the output for a service? Because the how you approach your relationship to no code is very, very different depending on your answer to where you land, product versus service. So, for example, if you are a product founder, if you're going to be building in a low code tool, one reason why you definitely should be using low code or a no code tool is to validate your core idea as quickly as possible and as cheaply as possible so that you save yourself time, you save yourself money, you save yourself late nights, you save yourself headaches, and you save yourself a big hole in your pocket. Because instead of waiting 9 months and spending tens of thousands, potentially even hundreds of thousands of dollars on a concept, on a promise, you're able to actually get a decision, yes or no. Is this something that people, does my idea solve a real problem for real people? Whether the answer is yes, whether the answer is no, that's a fantastic result that you can get that answer as quickly as possible. So if you're approaching it from that perspective and wanting to just get something out the door, building in no code or low code is absolutely the way to go. So I would recommend my recommendation would be build something, give yourself a 2-week time limit, and ship something that a real person can use in a real way within that 2-week time period, including your learning curve for learning whatever platform you want to work with. And what I would avoid is essentially the opposite, is the trap of one more thing. Okay, I spent 2 weeks building this prototype, but just one more thing. Let me just add one more feature. Let me just add one more thing. And then 6 months later, you're still in the same point of not having actually shipped anything, which is it is much easier to fall into that pattern than the opposite. Don't do that. Ship it. Talk to people. Repeat. That's it. And then if you're in a service business, what I would definitely recommend is something to avoid is assuming that your ability to master your technology translates to your ability to thrive as a service business owner. Those two things are not aligned by default. If you become a master at a certain stack or tech, people are not going to magically find you. And even if they do magically find you, your clients are not necessarily going to have a fantastic experience, be willing to pay, be willing to make referrals, just because you know how to ship or execute. Arguably, what's even more important than knowing your stack inside and out is knowing your sales, knowing your marketing, and knowing your client management. Those three things are going to be the core factors to lead to your either flourishing or your stagnation if you want to be able to take your interest in this technology into an actual career or profession or way to make an income.